people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Join us as we dive into the deep end of the unexplainable and try to piece together what happened. You are listening to Locations Unknown.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to a special episode of Locations Unknown. I'm your co-host, Joey Rado, and with me, as always, is a guy who doesn't even need to blink, but he does to not disturb others, Mike Vandebogart.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you once again to all of our loyal listeners for tuning in. Just a quick couple of updates before we get going here, and this is, like Joe said, a special episode we're doing. We are revisiting one of the earliest episodes we covered, Paul Miller. And
Episode
2 released way back in December
of 2018?
December 16th of 2018.
Oof.
So we're basically going to re-record the episode with some updated content, and then we're going to sprinkle in some stuff from the original show. And obviously his remains were found in 2019. Not giving away a spoiler there. We did do a case update.
Well, if they didn't hear any of those shows, you did just spoil it.
I guess. But so it'll be a fun little show, and you can hear the contrast between our early shows and how we do it now, which is it's pretty funny for us to still listen to. So before we go in here, we got a lot of new Patreon supporters to get to. So thank you to Julie Chapman, Suzanne Moak, Colleen Shaw, Andrew Fuller, Jonathan Woods, Tanya Campbell, Emily McKee, Donna Musselman. Let's see, make sure I don't get this one wrong. Brownin Levezi.
I think it's Brownwin Levezi.
Okay, I'll go
Brownwin
with
Levezi.
I'll go with what you did. Michelle Hansen. And then finally, David Bowie riding on a tiger made of lightning. The guy's real name is JJ, so thank you.
Like, you can just enter a name however you want?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so it's pretty funny. So you can also call our show and leave a voicemail and give us episode suggestions, critique past episodes, whatever you want. You can call 208-391-6913. You can also support our show via Patreon, YouTube memberships, premium subscriptions on Apple, or recently Spreaker Premium, I believe it's called. Pretty much,
no one's heard of that.
We have a couple already that have signed
That's
up.
awesome.
It's no nonsense. You basically just get access to all of our additional content right through the Spreaker platform. So that's the end of my updates. Joe's got a couple of exciting updates he wants to talk about.
Sure. So we've always talked about doing more with the show, and Mike and I are chugging down the tracks pretty hardcore in the last month or so, even on building a media company around this show, bringing on additional shows. We actually have one we're going to be bringing in-house that should be ready to go by the time this releases. So if you're hearing this, once you're done with this show, you can go over to, I can't say the name on here because we're a friendly podcast, but it's the Un-F Word Your Life and Relationships with Anita Astley. She's really cool. Basically, she wrote a book. She's a psychotherapist on life lessons and how to build healthy relationships from inside and out. So it's Un-F Word Your Life and Relationships with Anita Astley.
Are you sharing it on there?
Oh, can I? Oh, here, I can hold it up.
Well, I
Yes.
can't see on the
Oh, yeah, it's
on
there.
the TV, the screen
go.
here for us.
Yeah, it's they can see, right?
Oh.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Okay, there we are.
There you go. So she has a book out. She's really cool. She's a Milwaukee native. She has some episodes, but we're going to help her develop more episodes, and it's going to be part of our media company network. So stay tuned. We're going to be adding more content, more shows. We're hiring researchers and fact checkers to help build this. There's a lot of other exciting updates that I can't say, but we're really moving full steam ahead here, and we're just going to keep getting better and better and better. And you guys have all been the catalyst for this. This is really awesome. We keep growing. Because you listen to our show, we're able to guest spot on some other bigger shows, which keep the snowball rolling downhill, and it's been a lot of fun. We have really exciting stuff coming up. Yes.
Before we get into it, let's play the original intro.
Yes. Oh, yeah, we'll totally. So you'll hear how we used to do things
Yes.
if you haven't gone into our back catalog. So let me pull this
Make
bad
sure you
boy
pull
up.
the audio up.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, here we go.
right.
The first time, or the second episode we ever recorded.
Yeah.
Wait for it.
Promise it's not just blanks.
There we go.
My brother Paul went missing here on July 13th.
A search is currently underway for a missing hiker out in Joshua Tree. Authorities say 51-year-old Canadian citizen Paul Miller has been missing
and
since
heartache
yesterday.
while the search for the Guelph hiker missing in California has been scaled back. Family and friends of 51-year-old Paul Miller are praying for him.
51-year-old Paul Miller went off on a hike alone. He called his wife Friday morning from the 49 Palms trailhead, and that's the last time anyone's heard from him.
Thousands of people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Join us as we dive into the deep end of the unexplainable and try to piece together what happened. You are listening to Locations Unknown.
All right, welcome to episode 2 of the Locations Unknown podcast. I'm your host, Mike Vandebogart. Sitting alongside of me is our co-host, Joe Arado. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Mike.
We have a very interesting case for you today, a little different than what we did in our first episode, in that this case is very recent. The case is about a Canadian by the name of Paul Miller.
That was the second episode we ever
in Joshua
recorded.
Tree National Park.
We listened to it because I actually hadn't listened to it since we did it. I listened to it when we released it and everything, but in years. I have to say I was pleasantly surprised with the quality. I know our first episode was way worse.
Yeah.
But the fact that by the second
starting to
episode we
figure
made
things out.
we figured things out. Plus, we had like a month to record that one, so the intro is a little bit more dynamic. I'm hoping we can bring some of that type of stuff back because that part's actually cool.
Yeah, no,
where it plays the news clips and stuff.
Yeah, no,
Forgot
it's just,
we did that.
Yeah, it was just kind of cool hearing something from so many years ago now.
Yeah,
so
we've gotten so much better. All right, everybody, let's gear up and get out to explore Locations Unknown. July 13th, 2018. Amateur wildlife photographer was on vacation with his wife in Joshua Tree National Park. He wanted to get a photograph of a bighorn sheep on the 49 Palms Oasis Trail. When he did not return, the search began. Join us this week as we revisit the case of Paul Miller. So we're not doing everything that we did. So we have updated location information. We have updates to the case. So we're revisiting the case itself, but because this was only, a few months old when we covered it.
Yeah.
We didn't have closure, and then closure came and we updated later on. So this is us coming full circle, redoing the case, but not just, I think as you put it, Mike, not a boring clip show where we just replay what we already did.
Yeah.
We're going to redo it and add the information that was missing.
Yeah, and especially a lot of his listeners like our location profiles, so we got better over the years on giving, better location profiles, so that is a strong point in our current episodes, but so yeah, I don't know, Joe, tell us a little bit about Joshua Tree.
So Joshua Tree is a 1,242 square mile or 794,000 acre park. It's the 15th based on size and slightly larger than the state of Rhode Island. I love how they all compare to Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Because it's just neat to say you're bigger than a state.
Bigger than a state.
The sublocation that we're going to talk about is the 49 Palms Oasis Trailhead. I'm going off memory here, and I'm going to see if I'm right. That was an in and out it wasn't a loop, right? It was an in and out to a waterfall, a relatively easy, like an hour hike, if I remember.
So yeah, I believe you're right.
All right, I'll pull up the all trails.
That's something
when you're
else we
talking.
didn't have in the second episode.
Oh, the all trails.
We didn't have all the media that we could show.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It is located in California. The park was established in October 31st in 1994, so it's a relatively new park.
Yeah.
It sees roughly 2.3 million visitors per year. That's as of 2020 numbers. So a little bit of the habitation of the area and history. Humans have occupied the area we now know as Joshua Tree for the last 5,000 years. The first group known to inhabit the area was the Pinto culture, followed by American Indians, including the Serrano, the Kimweve, and the Kahula. In the 1800s, cattlemen drove their cows into the area for the ample grass available at the time and built water impoundments for them. Miners dug tunnels through the earth looking for gold and made tracks across the desert with their trucks. Homesteaders began filling claims in the 1900s. They built cabins, dug wells, and planted crops. By the late 1920s, the development of new roads into the desert had brought an influx of land developers and cactus poachers. I didn't know that was a thing. People poaching cactus.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you have to chase them or anything. Minerva Hoyt, a Pasadena resident who was extremely fond of desert plants, became concerned about the removal of cacti and other plants to the Garden of Los Angeles. Her tireless efforts to protect the area culminated in 825,000 acres being set aside as Joshua Tree National Monument in 1936.
You missed our window friends.
Oh, well, I assumed you were. Oh, they're coming back. There you go. They'll see me. You'll see them in your camera. The monument was administered by the superintendent of Yosemite National Park until James Cole was appointed as the first superintendent in 1940. The eastern portion of the historic oasis of Mara was deeded to the National Park Service by the 29 Palms Corporation in 1950. That same year, the monument's size was reduced by 265,000 acres to exclude some mining property. In 1976, Congress designated 420,000 acres within the monument as wilderness. Of the park's current 792,623 acres, 591,624 is designated wilderness. As part of the Desert Protection Bill, Joshua Tree National Monument was elevated to park status on October 31st, 1994. The bill also added an extra 234,000 acres. The new park boundary follows the natural features and includes complete ecological units such as an entire mountain ranges. Previous boundaries divided these ranges along survey lines. The additions provide better resource protection with easier boundary identification and monitoring an important habitat for desert bighorn sheep. So here's a little bit about the climate. According to our friends over at the Köppen Climate Classification System, Joshua Tree National Park is a hot desert climate. You wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that.
According to the United States Department of Agriculture, the plant hardiness zone at the Cottonwood Visitor Center at 3,081 feet of elevation is 8B or 8 Bravo, with an average annual extreme minimum temperature of 19.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Temperatures and a lot of I'm surprised at how many people don't understand that deserts get cold.
Yeah.
At night.
Yeah.
Temperatures are most comfortable in the spring and fall with an average high and low of 85 and 50. Winter brings cooler days around 60 degrees Fahrenheit and freezing nights. Snows occur occasionally at higher elevations. Summers are hot with over 100-degree weather during the day and not cooling much below 75 until the early hours of the morning. A little bit about the terrain. Straddling San Bernardino and Riverside counties, the park includes parts of two deserts, each an ecosystem whose characteristics are determined primarily by elevation, the higher Mojave Desert and the lower Colorado Desert. The Little San Bernardino Mountains traverse the southwest edge of the park. The higher and cooler Mojave Desert is the special habitat of the Yucca brevifolia, the Joshua tree, for which the park is named. I'm sure I said that wrong. It occurs in patterns from dense forest to distantly spaced specimens. In addition to Joshua tree forests, the western part of the park includes some of the most interesting geological displays found in California's deserts. So the dominant geological feature of this landscape are hills of bare rock, usually broken up into loose boulders. These hills are popular amongst rock climbing and scrambling enthusiasts. The flat land between these hills is sparsely forested with Joshua trees. Together with the boulder piles and skull rock, the trees make the landscape otherworldly. Yeah, it looks like Mars.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really popular for climbers.
And it's a park I've never been to still.
I know.
I'd love to get out there.
I think we said that on the second episode. We really got to get out to Joshua Tree.
Never happened.
Yep, been planning for 4 years. Well, now, that's the update we forgot. We're doing the Trova trips. We could do a trip out there.
Yeah.
So we'll put that link in the notes, and if you can take the survey, and we'll start going on some fan trips.
Yeah.
So some dangers present in the park. Just a little touch on some of these animals. Then these are just some of the animals present. There's 46 different species of reptiles, including 26 different types of snakes. Do not, what does it say?
No, that's internal notes.
Internal notes. I'm like, why is it highlighted? Yeah, we're not going to talk about snake bites because we got in trouble that one time.
Yeah.
There's the western diamond-backed rattlesnake. Although the venom is somewhat less toxic than some other rattlesnakes, it makes up for it by producing immense quantities. As much as 800 milligrams can be delivered in a full envenomation, which thankfully are rare. The venom causes severe muscle deterioration as well as massive internal bleeding. Regarded as the most aggressive of the rattlers, it can grow up to 7 feet and 15 pounds. But typical specimens are only in the 4 to 5 foot range, Mike, and less than 10 pounds. So that's really comforting to think about. We have the northern Mojave rattlesnake. The Mojave rattler has the most toxic venom of North American snakes and a reputation as extremely aggressive towards humans. Physically similar to the western diamondback, the Mojave rattler typically shades towards green, sparking the common name Mojave greens, which I wouldn't be able to tell because I'm colorblind, so I'd just be screwed.
Yeah, you're done.
Yep, I'm done. Limited to the southern areas of Arizona, California, Utah, New Mexico, and parts of Texas, the Mojave rattlesnake prefers open areas of sparse vegetation and sandy desert conditions. It will use a sidewinding locomotion when appropriate, but most typically does not. Comprised of a combination of neurotoxin along with the more common hemophagic elements, the Mojave rattlesnake venom is considered more toxic than even Australia's famed tiger snake. Because bites often bleed less and cause less internal distress, it isn't uncommon for people that have been bitten to underestimate their peril. The combination of neurotoxins can cause massive negative side effects that only become obvious as long as 24 hours after envenomation. The most common anti-venom in the U.S. is based in large part on the venom of the Mojave rattlesnake and is highly effective when administered promptly. What else do we have there? 250 species of birds, which that's crazy for a desert. Like there's a lot of stuff. I think I watched like the Planet Earth series on Netflix when they... it's like Planet Earth at night.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like how much life there is in the desert. And like, I still don't understand where they are during the day.
But staying out of the sun.
I know. 57 species of mammals, including bobcats, California mountain lions, gray fox, California black bear. And that's per the National Park Service, not very common. So it's not very common to see, but it is on the National Park Service website. Southern mule deer and desert bighorn sheep. There's more than 75 species of invertebrate, including the giant hairy scorpion, tarantulas, and the painted lady butterfly. So let's talk about heat and sun, because it is a desert. So during the summer, expect super high temperatures, intense sunlight, and low humidity. You want to drink plenty of water to avoid dehydration in the arid desert environment. You want to drink at least 1 gallon or 4 liters of water per day to replace loss from sweat. You want to bring the water you will need to the park with you because there is potable water at a few locations near the edges of the park. So like the Joshua Tree Visitor Center in 29 Palms, the park headquarters, Western Entrance Station, Black Rock Campground, Cottonwood Campground, and Indian Cove Ranger Station. But that is it. You're not going to find a stream or a well.
And we know it sucks to carry gallons of water with you because
it's all the weight.
It's a ton of weight.
It's all the weight.
You know, coming from someone, if you've listened to the show a while, you know that my first hike, we ran out of water in Canyonlands.
Yeah.
In the Maze District. So Yeah, bring the water and deal with the back pain later.
Yes, absolutely.
You'll be alive.
Yep, and don't forget to eat. You do need to take in the calories to burn in outdoor activities. When you're that hot all day, you want eating salty snacks can help you replace your body's electrolytes that are lost through sweating. For sun protection, you want to wear loose-fitted, light-colored clothing and wide-brimmed hat. Apply sunscreen to all exposed skin. Protect your eyes by wearing sunglasses. It is not a place you want to be in shorts and a t-shirt. You want to cover your skin because that will just intensify the dehydration and burning. Heat exhaustion is a problem, obviously. It's the result of dehydration due to all sweating and not replacing your water. Hikers can lose 1 to 2 quarts or liters of water per hour. Symptoms are pale face, nausea, vomiting, cool, moist skin, headaches, and cramps. Heat stroke can be a life-threatening emergency where the heat-regulating mechanisms become overwhelmed by a combination of internal heat production and environmental demands. Your body loses its ability to cool itself. Some of those symptoms are flushed face, dry skin, weak and rapid pulse, high core body temperature, confusion, poor judgment, or inability to cope, unconsciousness, and even seizures. Treatment for heat stroke, you just got to cool the victim immediately. You want to continuously pour water on the victim's head and torso, fan them to create an evaporative cooling effect. So like when your skin's wet, if you fan it, it then pulls the heat off the skin.
Yeah.
Think about like in winter, if you put your hand on something in metal, how it instantly is cold. That's kind of like what water does when there's air blowing over it when you're hot.
Yeah.
You want to immerse the victim in cold water if possible. Move the victim to shade. Remove excessive clothing if you're in shade. And you typically need to go to a hospital. Those are all things to help stop it, but they need to get to an ER.
Kind of stabilize it, but they got to get to an ER.
You can have water intoxication, hyponatremia. It's an illness that mimics the early symptoms of heat exhaustion. It is the result of low sodium in the blood caused by drinking too much water and losing too much salt through sweating.
So that could be a situation where you've brought all of these liters of water, you're sweating a ton, but you're just drinking pure water.
Yeah.
You really need to have like that electrolyte mix.
Yeah, put the packets in there. That's very good.
Yeah.
Right, if you're going to be sweating a lot. Symptoms of that include nausea, vomiting, altered mental states, confusion, frequent urination. The victim may appear intoxicated. In extreme cases, seizures could occur. For treatment, again, have the victim eat salty foods, slowly drink sports drinks with electrolytes, and rest in the shade. If mental alertness decreases, seek immediate help.
And if they're not too bad, that is a condition that if you wait a few hours, get some electrolytes in you,
it's manageable.
Should improve.
Yes.
But
flash floods are a real big issue. We've experienced that firsthand.
Yes.
Storms and flash floods can be powerful and sudden. Avoid canyons and washes during rainstorms and be prepared to move to higher ground. While driving, be alert for water running across dips in the road. Remember to turn around, don't drown. And now hiking and climbing, because this is popular there. Planning to hike and climb or cycle in hot weather, you want to bring at least 2 gallons of water per person per day. Drink the water and do not economize. When the water is half gone, it's time to turn back. Avoid hiking alone. Whether or not you're with a group, always inform a friend or family member of your planned route and expected return time. Carry a map and compass and know how to use them. And carrying a comprehensive first aid kit. A lot of people don't like this because they say it's added weight.
Yeah.
I always have it. There's no reason not to. You want to add a comb and tape to your kit. These items are often helpful in removing cola and other cactus spines from the skin. Other suggested items for desert hikers include tweezers, safety pins, bandages of various sizes, antibiotic ointment, antiseptic towelettes, wound closure strips, moleskin or duct tape for blisters, compression bandages, ibuprofen, aspirin, antihistamine tablets, extra food or salty snacks. You can throw those right in the first aid kit. It doesn't matter if they taste bad. If you put some old crackers in there, if they got salt on them, it's fine. Emergency blanket, that's for at night. It's not really a comprehensive list, but it's a really good start.
And I would say moleskin might be one of the most important things to bring.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you hiking with blisters in the desert is one of the most miserable things I've done in my life. And
it happened at Zion. I mean, remember I had like a hole in my foot that had rocks in it.
Yeah. So, and moleskin will really prevent, and also like I always wear toe socks and then a wool sock over my toe socks. And that really prevents blisters from in between your toes and stuff.
That is such an important tip. I tell everybody that because it sounds insane.
Yeah.
And like people
Sounds
hate
really-
wearing toe socks, but if you get hiking toe socks, like Mike said, and then another sock over it, you don't rub the skin on the shoe as easily. It slides in and out of the sock, so it doesn't cause that breakdown. And it works so good.
Yeah, and then at night, go over your feet. If you got some little blisters forming, pop some moleskin on it, and you're good to go.
Absolutely. There are mine shafts. You have to be careful. Many old mine sites are found within the park. If you choose to visit them, use extreme caution and never enter the mine or tunnel shafts. We had a later episode, was it last year?
Kenny Veach.
Yeah, Kenny Veach.
He's a spelunker, is that what they call him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it spelunking if it's a mine? Because I thought spelunking was caves.
Yeah, you're
Maybe
right.
it's just anytime you go underground.
We'll call it spelunking.
Yeah. We'll get correct. Call the number. Let us know.
We'll get corrected.
Winter temperatures can drop below freezing. Hypothermia can be a hazard, even in the desert. So you always carry extra layers of clothing during the cooler months. Those space blankets, the emergency blankets, are awesome for that. The short days of winter lead some hikers to miscalculate how much time they need to complete a hike. Around the winter solstice, plan to be back at the trailhead by 4 p.m. All right, let's learn again about Paul Miller.
Yeah, so like we said, the individual who went missing in this case is Paul Miller. His date of birth was 5/24/1967. He went missing on July 13th, 2018. His remains were found on December 20th of 2019. He was a male, age 51. His height, he was 5'5", 160 pounds. He had salt and pepper hair, brown eyes. He also had a large black and red tattoo over his heart of a howling coyote. And gear he was last seen in, he was wearing dark shorts, dark gray, almost black, high-tech altitude, hiking boots, black hat, and carrying sunglasses, a Camelback hydration pack, and a Nikon D5 300 camera. Experience in the wilderness, he was pretty experienced. In our original episode, we consider moderate to advanced. He had hiked across Canada, North America, and Mexico. So, he's done more hiking than probably most people. And he seemed pretty prepared, even for just a quick day hike. So, I would say he's pretty knowledgeable about the wilderness. So, we're not 100% sure on his experience level in Joshua Tree. We do know that he had hiked the park the day before.
I was going to say, he was out in the elements.
Yeah.
And the weather was similar.
Yeah.
So he had successfully hiked the day before.
Yep.
In the same stuff. So he at least had that experience.
Yeah. So we will jump right into the original timeline here. And like Joe had mentioned earlier in the episode, Paul and his wife, Stephanie, were on vacation in California and Nevada, including they were also in Las Vegas to celebrate their 26th wedding anniversary. And it was not uncommon for them to include backwoods camping, hiking, or kayaking in these trips. So on July 12th of 2018, both Paul and his wife were hiking in the park and came back to their hotel room at 29 Palms, incident-free. It's now the next day, July 13th of 2018. Paul and his wife were preparing to leave the hotel room, and Paul wanted to do one more short hike to try and get a photo of a bighorn sheep. So we have a bit of a detailed timeline here. And in the original episode, we actually spoke with Paul Land, or
George Land.
George Land. He was the PIO of Joshua Tree at the time, and we kind of intermixed his interview into the episode. We're not doing that this time around, but if you want to hear his interview, I suggest listening to the original episode. He has a lot of really good information on it. And I think Joe on our screen now is showing the 29 or 49 Palms Oasis hike. It's a lot more rugged than I thought.
Actually, yeah, we didn't. It is more mountainous, so it's about 1.5 miles in.
Yeah.
So all in, let's see what it ends up being. I mean, so 3.1 miles. I wonder if it's only
seeing this?
635 feet of elevation gain.
Yeah. Okay.
So it is more rugged than I thought, actually.
Yeah,
See, like all this new technology. That's what we didn't have in the OG version.
The OG version. So it's July 13th, 2018, 9 a.m. Paul leaves his hotel room, drives his car to the 49 Palms Oasis trailhead. By 11 a.m., Stephanie said she started to become concerned when he did not return, but decided to wait another hour. By noon, when Paul still had not returned, Stephanie contacted the Park Service to report Paul missing. By 12:30 p.m., Park Service had put together a team and started the search. They quickly found Paul's rental car at the trailhead. A quote from the park superintendent, David Smith, who spoke with a witness who saw Paul in the morning. We have a witness who saw Miller at the trailhead that morning, but that's all. Park superintendent David Smith said Saturday. It's really disconcerting, but we're not going to give up yet. So let's flash forward to September of 2018. So park officials closed the trail for a few days while a helicopter flew over with new photo software. We kind of talked extensively about this in the first episode.
Yeah, the FLIR.
Well, the camera takes these high-res photos and automatically analyzes them for anomalies. So anything that looks unnatural to a desert. So, like somebody's backpack or boots or something that wouldn't naturally be out there, the system would flag that, and then a human would look at that picture. So as of 10:30 a.m. Wednesday on the 19th, there was no word of any new discoveries in the search for Miller. The trail was reopened on Thursday the 20th, and they mentioned the images would take some time to analyze. So since July 13th, park staff have coordinated an extensive search, including teams doing technical ground, helicopter, canine, and tracking searches. To this date, the search has included 20 canine units and over 600 searchers, putting more than 6,000 hours to find Miller. The heat has hindered efforts some, and forced rescuers to at times start at 4 a.m. and by 9 a.m. they are returning to the command post exhausted. So that is kind of the very condensed timeline of what happened to Paul. Now, before we get into the story of his remains being found, Joe is going to play a clip of our original theories. So
Yes. We're gonna see how close we were.
Give Joe a second here to pull that up. Yeah,
Is
there we
that
go.
one right?
We'll jump into our theories, really. So we kind of talked about animals. I think exposure is extremely relevant. Yeah, he disappeared around noon in the desert. 105, 110 degrees is not uncommon, dry heat. So I'd say exposure for sure. Yeah, with exposure, anybody that's hiked in desert climates, dehydration does cause people to not think clearly. I mean, there's a chance that he got dehydrated, wandered off the trail, maybe walked for several miles just out into the desert. Somehow he walked into
some sort of delirious haze. Which,
yeah.
I mean that's actually a very good point, because you hear about the people that think they see water or things like that in desert. Granted, he was going towards an oasis, but again, you have a situation where maybe you're just unaware of what's really going on. So he's normally a hiker, but you can kind of get caught in those situations where you're not really sure, and then maybe it was just one of those times he was in the desert the day before.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of sun exposure the day before. Maybe he brought out enough water, but wasn't really attuned to the symptoms that he was having. He's traveling a lot. So if you get out and get delirious, did he go off trail and then think he was on the trail and just kept walking and walking?
So we were it feels like at the time we were kind of leaning towards some type of an exposure, dehydration cause of death.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I've seen if I had seen how the terrain looked in the original episode, I may have thought that maybe a fall or something might have been, an injury due to a fall might be a...
Yeah.
Okay, so this is...
I'll pull it up right now.
Yeah, so I'll get into how his remains were found, but this picture was one of the pictures that clued in searchers. Now, I'm looking at it, I can't really tell.
Is it that?
It might be
bones?
It's like remains. Yeah, and this picture was taken from a drone and then analyzed by an AI software.
Okay, so this is really... I don't want to use the word neat. It's not neat, but remember when we were looking at the original... I'm thinking back in 2018, because we were looking at pictures of Joshua Tree. And part of our theory was based off of when you looked out among the boulders, it was like, oh, you could totally see if somebody was there.
Yeah.
And looking at this, we didn't have this photo at the time.
Yeah.
You can't tell. So if you were 20 feet away from this, it blends in with the rock.
Well, I mean, at that time when, Paul went missing, there would have been a body there too. So
Good point.
we're only seeing remains, but
Well, this wasn't too long after, was it?
well, they found his remains in
Was it a year later?
December of 2019.
Okay, so it was a year later.
Yeah.
A year and a couple months later.
Now, obviously, George Land told us about how remains could be moved by
I remember
water flow and
animals,
'cause they get all
predation.
kinds of crazy flash floods. So
Yeah.
where his remains were found might not be the actual spot he passed away in, but based on, so we'll jump right into the remains being found. So December 20th of 2019, his remains were found. So on December 21st, Joshua Tree National Park authorities reported that on December 19th, human remains had been found near the 49 Palms Oasis Trail. Dental records would later confirm the remains were Paul's. The discovery came through photographs from a drone flyover of the area in November, officials said. So on December 20th, park law enforcement rangers hiked to the area where they found skeletal remains determined to be human and personal belongings. There was no personal identification found with the remains, which appeared to have been there for some time, officials said, adding there were no initial indicators of foul play. Speculation is that whatever happened that caused his death happened quickly. One of the officials said possibly a heart attack or heat stroke. He was found in a shaded area and still had water and food, she said. It appeared he had made the hike to 49 Palms Oasis and then was coming back out the wrong way, Stephanie Miller said. Early in the search for Miller, teams had gotten close enough to where the remains were found that he would have heard and responded when they called out his name, she said, adding there is comfort knowing he didn't suffer long. So apparently his remains were only found about 50 feet from the previously searched trail. So, and this photo, I can't really make out any other personal belongings or anything.
I can't. I assume this white here is bone.
Yeah.
And I mean, I only assume that because it's like circled. There's a square around where the remains are.
Yeah.
But I can't see anything else.
Yeah, like they said there was water with them, and so
yeah,
maybe this photo was taken after
I can imagine.
they had.
So did the FLIR pick up on the abnormalities in this?
The drone picked up. The drone took the picture in November, and it took them until December to get the analyzed photo back, and the system flagged this picture. Now, I don't know if the picture we're looking at now is after the remains have been removed, and they have a picture of the location where the remains were found, because it's tough looking at this picture to see, make out details of what we're looking at. But so the picture was taken on November by a drone, analyzed, and then humans finally looked at it in December, and that's when they made the discovery. So,
wow, that's trained humans, because I would have missed it unless the drone says, hey, there's something here, and then they really take their time on it.
So that kind of our original theories weren't too far off. They suspect that he passed away pretty quickly due to a heart attack or a heat stroke. So one possible explanation is he got dehydrated, and that put his body under stress. And he's at the age where males, in your 50s, like, heart attacks do happen, especially, if you put your body into an extreme environment like this.
Yeah, and I mean, we've hiked in desert conditions. You were stuck in Canyonlands. There is residual after days. Mm-hmm. So if he spent all day hiking the day before, you don't go back to 100%.
No, your body is still recovering.
Exactly. So he
kind of builds.
I mean, if he didn't drink enough water when he returned,
yep.
He got up early to go. If you imagine a vacation, he probably is like, I really want to go get this photo. We're leaving.
Yeah.
Probably got up even earlier than he normally would have to run out and get this done. And you have low blood pressure in the morning. There's a lot of things that occur. It could have just been the perfect storm.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Or heat stroke. I mean, he could have been perfectly healthy, and just heat stroke can happen to anybody.
Sure.
If you wear your body out enough.
Did we? I forget. I apologize if you mentioned it. Did he have health conditions that they were aware of?
None that I was aware of.
Okay.
We didn't mention anything in the first episode either.
Because we talked to his sister and his brother-in-law, because they went out several times on the search. They didn't want to do an interview, but we communicated with them. They let us share information. I forgot if they said it. I didn't think so.
No, we would have mentioned it if there were health conditions. And I can look through all of our old notes from those interviews to see, and we can post it if there was something. But yeah, no, it's sadly, I mean, thankfully for the family, they got closure. And I always it's really interesting on some of the cases we're able to go back and, like, once something is found, we can kind of go back and look, like, how crazy were we with our theories? Or
I feel confident, like, for a second episode, we didn't do too bad.
Yeah, we were pretty realistic, and I think Joe and I always try to talk about the realistic things that could happen first.
Yeah, we didn't have any off the deep ends or anything going on. We were still trying to figure out our format.
Yeah, we really didn't get too crazy with aliens and Bigfoot yet.
No, not yet.
But yeah, so no, this was an interesting case. It was our second case we did.
You should go back and listen if you want to hear the George Land interview. He's such a cool guy.
And you know what? I don't know if we ever posted the full unedited interview.
Yeah, it was like the next one.
Oh.
Or it was one or two later. We posted, because the one we did, we pared it down, because we talked. I mean, did you interview him?
I can't
Or did
remember.
we both?
I think we both did.
Yeah, but it went on for like an hour and a half or something. It was very long, but it was great. But we pared it down to just the relevant topics from the search.
Yeah, we did an episode on Bobby Bizup, and we had the full interview with Dave Haskin next. We never released the full interview for George Land, so maybe
we should listen to it and see if it's
maybe we'll release it to Patreon.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear it, you got to sign up.
Yeah, you got to pay wall.
But no, thank you again for sticking with us 2018 to 2024. It's a long time. I mean, so many things have changed in our lives in that stretch of time.
So many things have changed, and things are moving very quick. So what we're going to try and get to is start releasing more regularly, weekly, at a minimum. So start preparing over probably the next month, as what stinks about is setting all this stuff up is why we've had kind of a delay.
Yeah.
Because our time is very limited. So we're either putting time into the show or putting time into growing the show.
Yep.
And the whole point of this hire and what we're doing is to divide and conquer that. Bring people on board that can help us keep the show going at a much faster pace than you're used to, while we're increasing the quality and moving into this. And then, who knows, potentially doing it full time, which means spin-off shows, other types of content.
And
we have lots of ideas.
Love doing this part of just the show part.
Yes.
This is the part we really love doing. So if we could do this more often, that would be amazing.
Ooh, twice a week?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
All right. No, thanks again for tuning into our show. We appreciate you all deeply for listening and sharing Locations Unknown with your friends and family. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Go on YouTube and subscribe. YouTube is actually one of the biggest platforms that can help us grow fast if we can get those subscriptions up. So it's also where you get to go see the video. So you can, if you've only listened to us, you can go see what we look like and hopefully not quit after you find that out. Also, if you do want to support us monetarily, you can visit our Facebook store and buy some sweet swag. Subscribe to Patreon, as Mike said. There's also YouTube subscriptions, Spreaker subscriptions now, Apple subscriptions, anywhere where you can go get extra content. You can sign up. There's a lot more shows for paid customers only. And lastly, when enjoying the beauty of nature, whether backpacking, camping, or simply taking a walk, always remember to leave no trace. Thanks, and we will see you all